before Ajahn Brahm's tour, we had started the Mangala Sutta. And the Mangala Sutta is a very beautiful teaching from the Buddha that talks about the highest blessings we could have in our life. And there are, I believe, 38 written here, which of course lead into others. For example, one of the first ones is to have a suitable dwelling or to live in a suitable place. So that could include safety, it could include belonging, it could include even warmth, right? A place that's healthy for you. So it's a very beautiful sutta. There's a lot to it, and we thought that since we began it last time and didn't really manage to, I don't know if there is an end to it, but it wasn't possible to do it justice. So we thought we'd do part 2. And for those who were not here last time, we're going to chant the whole thing in Pali to begin. And do I have the English translation? I still don't have the English translation, but it would be good if I did. So this is why it's great to have a seminary. And we will, we'll begin by chanting it. And then you can just relax and let the Pali words wash over you, and then I'll explain what it means. And I thought today, because we already did a lot of discussion, I could hand over to you and ask you to think about how this applies to your life. What are the blessings that you can recognize and relate to that you have in your lives? How do they show up? What are the blessings that you'd like to cultivate? What are some of the examples of times that you had some of these blessings, and what were the causes for them to arise? So the blessings really range from the kind of conditions for our practice to the sort of ingredients for success in life, to training, to virtue, to fulfilling family responsibilities, becoming a pillar of society, in other words, someone with social responsibility that contributes to the harmony and the well-being of your community, your society at large perhaps, and then personal ethics, living a life of inner integrity, and based on that, developing a spiritual life, developing the qualities of spirituality, and then eventually the qualities that take us towards enlightenment itself and the benefits of that. What is an enlightened person like? So I think we can begin by chanting. So please just join in if you can, if you know the Pali chanting, and otherwise I will just continue. I don't think I actually have the reference for it today either. I was a little bit unprepared. So, but it's somewhere in the Sutta Nipata. Yes, thank you very much. 2.4, I think you're quite right. Okay, so here goes. Would you like to chant with me?
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be 2 voices for the chanting. Asevana cha balanam panditana cha sevana puja cha pujaniyanam etam mangalam uttamam patilupade sawasocha pupe cha kata punyata Atta samma panidicca etam mangalam uttamam bahu sachancha si pancha vinayo chasisi kito subhasita chayavacha etam mangalam uttamam Mata pitu upatanam puttadara sasangaho anakula chakamanta etam mangalam uttamam danan chadam acharya chat nyatakanan chasangaho Anavajani kamani etam mangalam uttamam arati virati papa majapana chasanyamo appamado ca dhammesu etam mangalamuttamam karavo ca nivato ca santuti ca katanyuta kalena dhamma savanam etam mangalamuttamam kanti ca sovaca sata samananam ca dasanam kalena dhamma sakacha etam mangalamuttamam tapocha brahmacharyancha hariyasachana dasanam nibbana sachikereyacha etam mangalamuttamam Puttasaloka dhammehi Chittam yasanakampatit asokam virajam kemam etam mangalamuttamam etadisani katwana sabbatamaparajita sabbasata sotim gachanti tam te sammangalamuttamam te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Wonderful. So thank you to those who joined in and also to those who listened. And although you may not understand the words yet, these teachings are very powerful because they've been chanted by so many human beings in Buddhist countries and beyond, but also I think the Devas delight in hearing the teachings of the Buddha, apparently to beings living in the higher realms, the heavenly realms, celestial realms. Time is very different. And what for us is maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, for them is like half a day. So they still remember the Buddha's teachings. And it's said that in the holy sites of India, and I think this one was also, the teaching was given in Anathapindika's grove, so in Savatthi in India, they will still remember these teachings. And so they're still rejoicing with us when we chant. So whether you believe it or not, it's a very nice thought, isn't it? And there's some very beautiful teachings contained in here. So do we have a very nice English translation that I can refer to?
This is Bhante Gunaratana.
Okay, so this is Bhante Gunaratana. Okay, so shall I read out the whole thing again in English before we go into it in detail? Is that a good idea? Yeah? All right. So here we go. This is a translation by Bhante Gunaratana, a wonderful, I think 97 by now, year-old monk, who's a Sri Lankan monk living in America. Okay, so it means something like, many deities and humans have pondered upon blessings, desiring their well-being. Tell me the blessings supreme. So this is the request of a deva. And then the Buddha replies, not to associate with the foolish, but to associate with the wise, to honour the worthy ones, or honour those worthy of honour. This is one of the highest blessings. I'm actually changing the translation a little bit here. He says this is a blessing supreme. To reside in a suitable location, to have good past deeds done by oneself, to set oneself in the right direction. This is a blessing supreme, or this is one of the highest blessings. To be well-spoken, highly trained, well-educated, skilled in handicraft, and highly disciplined. This is a blessing supreme. While I'm reading, just rejoice if you recognize some of these blessings. To care well for mother and father, to look after spouse, let's say, or partner and children, to engage in a harmless occupation. This is a blessing supreme. Outstanding behavior, blameless action, open-handed generosity to relatives or giving our relatives our help, and selfless giving. This is a blessing supreme. To cease and abstain from evil, to avoid intoxicants, to be diligent in virtuous practices. This is a blessing supreme. To be reverent and humble, content and grateful. To hear the Dhamma at the right time, not when you're asleep. This is a blessing supreme. It doesn't say that. To be patient and, don't quite like the translation. It says obedient, but I think here it says amenable to advice. I much prefer that. To be patient and amenable to advice. To visit spiritual people. Usually it says to see the renunciants. That's actually the literal translation, Samananan Chadasanam, which means to see renunciates, to see monastics. To discuss the Dhamma at the right time, not just to listen. This is a blessing supreme. To practice austerity and purity. Just checking, because there it says purely, but it basically means celibacy, brahmacharya. I'm not too keen on this translation, sorry Bhante. To see the noble truths and to realize nibbana, this is a blessing supreme. A mind unshaken when touched by the worldly winds, sorrow stainless and secure. Sorrowless, stainless and secure. This is the blessing supreme. Those who have fulfilled all of these are everywhere invincible. They find well-being everywhere. Theirs is the blessing supreme. Okay. Oh, we have Ajahn Brahmali's translation there. That's great. Please do take a look at that later, perhaps. It's a bit late for me to read that out. So today, what I thought is, because we went through most of it last week, at least in brief, we didn't have a lot of time to look at some of the deeper virtues that are founded on ethics, and I thought we could do that today. So I think Shirley will be very happy about this, because I know you love contentment, and it's the paragraph with all those qualities like contentment and gratitude that I'd like to start on. And just see if we can reflect on these in ways that are very practical to us and ways that inform our lives. So I thought we could have a discussion on that and maybe look at some of the ways we can cultivate these qualities too. So this is from, I think, the 8th and 9th verse, and it pertains to developing a spiritual life. So Garava, Nivata, Santuti, Katanyuta, and then the next four. So those first four, reverence. Shirley already has her hand up. Shall we talk about reverence first, and then I'll come to you, Shirley? Yeah? I'm really keen to know how you understand this and what are maybe some of the problems with this. Is it even a quality that we aspire towards? Is it something that we value? You know, as people largely educated and brought up in sort of Western, so-called Western, or maybe non-Buddhist countries. Many of us are from traditional Buddhist countries. But, you know, if we're living in a global society, a capitalist society, sometimes it's all about the ego, isn't it? It's all about what we want and we know best. We want to do it our way. So how do you relate to this, the idea of reverence? It's a very beautiful word. Okay, I'll come to Shirley because you might want to speak to that. Or anything else.
I've really contemplated a lot. I've been contemplating contentment and patience lately while I've not been very well and not been able to do things. And I've tried to make that my practice. Because nothing else seemed to be working very well. But I haven't really thought very much about reverence. The first thing that occurred to me is this, going back to the first stanza, where you honour those who are worthy of honour.
Yeah.
But I'm also, then I thought of going to Japan. And the thing about Japanese culture that struck me was respect. They respect each other, they respect nature, they respect the environment, and that's something that really is quite powerful. And we just don't have this very much in our society. So I just thought I'd throw those two in
Yeah, thanks.
about reverence, because it's a funny thing about revering people. But I think, just to honour those who are worthy of honour
Yeah.
is,
I think that's
because society doesn't. It tends to honour all the people who are not doing terribly sinful things or want to have a lot of things, not people who are worthy of honour. And I think that's
yeah.
a blessing to contemplate.
Yes. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, that, it is important that we're wise around what we revere, who we revere, and why, and how that isn't necessarily seen as a good quality in the West, but also sometimes I feel there are not enough examples of people who have done something worthy of reverence. I agree with the comment in the chat. Someone saying their reverence evokes the tone of a loving quality of heart for me. Feels like it's very closely associated with metta, awe, and beauty. I think that's really true. And for me, I'd add the quality of gratitude that is there with the reverence, but a sense of awe, a sense of wonder, but being able to look up to something. And I think that's why we pay respect. You've seen traditional Buddhists and people who've taken the Dhamma to heart paying respect to, say, the statue of a Buddha. And the purpose of that is to revere something that we may not yet understand, but we aspire towards, because until we actually have realized awakening for ourselves, there's still something to revere. There's still something that we haven't seen, that we haven't understood, and that should make us kind of awe-inspired. Awe is also close to inspiration, isn't it? It's like it starts off with a feeling of awe, but then the inspiration that we too can develop those qualities. I think this is very important. And yeah, the part of wisdom, venerating those worthy of veneration. Just recently in the weekend retreat, which is almost a whole week ago now, I gave a talk. It was a sutta discussion, a sutta class, I guess, at the retreat about right speech, and about how to practice right speech, how to criticize someone, how to give feedback, but also the important teaching in the suttas to actually blame what's blameworthy and praise what's praiseworthy, not the other way around, not to praise what should be blamed and blame what should be praised. And I think sometimes we're a little bit afraid to do that. And of course, we might be wrong. There's a few checks and balances we have to put in place first. But it's important to use our discernment. And I think, if we can do that, then reverence shouldn't be feared. Yeah, that's a beautiful comment in the chat. I don't read the names of the people in the chat in case you want to remain anonymous, not because I'm ignoring who's offered the comment there. So I'm coming to Suvekshi, isn't it? We don't see your name today.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. I think you can change it if you want to with the 3 dots at the top of your top right.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I've got a new computer, so my video wasn't connected, so I was
no problem at all.
Starting today. So in terms of reverence, I was wondering about this, the culture around bowing, and that's a way of demonstrating your respect and your recognition of reverence, particularly when you come across monastics. That's particularly like in Sri Lankan Buddhist culture, bowing is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking about the ego, because I had a conversation at the end of the week's retreats, and it was kind of like how quickly when you come out of the retreats, like how you get sort of things happen and your ego suddenly sort of jumps out at you again. And it's been so like calm and tamed throughout the retreat.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about bowing and how actually that's but that physical action of bending down,
Yeah.
and particularly bending down to someone's feet, in a way, tames the ego.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And just that kind of like really stood out for me. And then when I went home and I saw my mom, I've made it a practice to, and it's something that we were brought up growing up. It's that you would bow to elders, not just to monastics, but elders as well.
Yeah,
and
especially parents.
Yeah. And then as you grow up, it kind of like, why are we doing this? And then you stop doing it. And actually, I think it just really, the retreat, that was kind of a little bit of an enlightenment moment for me. And realizing actually that process of going down on your knees and bowing to someone helps tame your own ego, but also you recognize the reverence in someone else, and there's reverence in everyone.
Something to revere. Yeah.
So that just came up.
Yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm just thinking of it the other way around too. I mean, of course, it can be seen as cultural, and it may not be everyone's natural way to express a reverence. But say in Buddhist culture, like in a monastery also, whether we're, from a traditional Buddhist background or not, it becomes part of the training. It becomes part of the way we organize our communities, the way we show each other respect, especially to the seniors and also to the Buddha Rupa. And it's interesting that when somebody is perhaps struggling with their sense of self, the ego's coming up, there's a tendency not to want to bow. So I think we can see that side too, right? We can see the side that's benefited by bowing where it makes sense to us, but we can also see that resistance to it sometimes when the appropriate thing to do, or the usual thing to do, would be to bow. And sometimes, we might not want to. Or sometimes, as a monastic, sometimes you might meet another monastic and you might think they're not a good monastic, right? Because you know them. And maybe they're not a good monastic. Or, I mean, if you know somebody, it can be just sometimes like, oh, well, they're just like me. Why should I kind of pay respects? But we don't pay respect to an individual. We pay respects to someone's renunciation and to the length of time they've been in the robes. In other words, to how long they've, it is since they renounced. So it's very important not to take it personally as well. I remember the first time someone bowed to me in Burma, I was kind of shocked and a bit horrified, and I was like, no, get up, please get up. Because I was, I'd just ordained, and then I realised, no, it made them so happy. They would look a bit disappointed if I said, well, they'd do it anyway. But they'd get up and their face would be glowing. And that would give them this sense. They would often tell me, you've come so far to practice. Why don't we practice? We're here in a Buddhist culture. We need to make more time for our retreat. And it really meant something to them. And then I realised it's not about me. It's not about the object of reverence at all. It's about the reverence in our heart that wants to be expressed. So there may be other ways as well, many ways to express that reverence. I don't know. I feel it very naturally. I remember the first time I really felt almost compelled. I just could not stop myself from bowing. And it was when my first teacher, Goenka, was chanting. I was staying in India and studying Pali for about a year. And I think it was after a long retreat, and he would walk around the pagoda, and all the women, it was the women's side, put out kind of scarves and shawls for him to walk on the marble floor. And they were just bowing as he came close. And as soon as he came close, I just couldn't stand at eye level. I just felt so moved. And I just immediately spontaneously bowed. It's a very beautiful thing. Yeah. And humility, right? Humility, the next one, is related to reverence. I think this is also something to really look at in ourselves. What areas are we lacking in humility? What areas of our lives could we use a little more humility in? And sometimes it's views, isn't it? I don't know for you, but sometimes it's that sense of I know best, or, not wanting to accept that someone else might have more experience, or that we may have something to learn, someone might have something to share, that if we were a little more humble, we might more easily receive it. Yeah, I'm going to come to Diana. You can talk to that or anything else you wish.
Thanks,
Hi.
Venerable.
Nice to see you.
Too. After you told the story of bowing at the retreat with Goenka, and you paused, and I said out loud, humility. And then you said humility.
Oh,
That's the next one.
yeah.
But to bow down means that you are saying my ego is not greater than the thing I'm bowing to, like it's an acceptance of, and it's something that we hold on to so strongly in our life to hold ourselves up and get through the day and interact with people. We have to believe in ourselves and be strong. And here you're just saying, not I'm nothing, but you're just letting go of all that attachment to having to be right, put out a good appearance or anything else. It's a really beautiful emotion and experience.
Yeah, it is. Actually, as you mentioned that and mentioned how we sort of try to put on this sort of strong appearance, it made me think that humility is actually strength. It's like this idea of the tree that bends in the wind, that, the tree that can bend and flow with the wind. I don't know, maybe bamboo or maybe a willow tree or something like that, actually lasts longer. It lasts in the storm. Something that's very rigid, very brittle, tends to fall over quite easily. So yeah, there's something beautiful about being able to move in and out of reverence, and maybe sometimes also taking a sort of more a leadership role or something like this. Yeah. But there's a lot we can revere, and it also doesn't have to be, I think, something that we think is above us or better than, or we can revere any beautiful quality that we see in another person.
Yeah.
And maybe it's sort of close. I like this word awe that was mentioned, because I think we sometimes lose the wonder and the kind of awe in life, like just simple things in nature, like beautiful blue sky and a kind of silver sunshine in the winter on the frost. It's just something kind of awe-inspiring, and that cold wind against your cheek, and the way the leaves kind of change, and it's just so epic. Everything's quite epic, actually, if you look closely. But sometimes we just dismiss it so easily. Yeah. Yeah, I think humility can be difficult, and Ajahn Brahm reminded me during the retreat that everyone thinks they're right. I think he got that from a philosopher, and I forget who it was, that they actually realised through thinking, and I suppose they thought they were right, that you have to think you're right. You only can ever think you're wrong afterwards, because you wouldn't have a thought, you wouldn't have a view if you didn't think it was right. Which can also give compassion, I think, towards people who we think are obviously wrong, but they do believe they're right, even if they're being cruel, even if they're being what we think is unfair, and it may be really harmful. They still think that they're right. It's just the delusion. And so, yeah, when we don't listen to others, when we can't receive input, I mean, in the training as monastics, that's considered untrainable. If you can't receive feedback, if you can't, be amenable to advice, even if it's wrong, but at least take it on board and genuinely, absorb it and question whether there may be something true in that for you, then it's very hard to be trained. We already know. And the fact is, until we have right view, we do have wrong view. So the path is kind of blocked. So I think this humility and reverence, it's interesting that they come at the beginning of these spiritual qualities. I mean, of course, we've already practiced our sila, but in terms of, the more inner qualities, it starts with that reverence and humility. Being willing to learn, asking questions as well, I think is part of it. Sometimes we think sometimes that can be cultural. I remember in one context asking questions from time to time, and the people I was asking the questions to thought that was a lack of respect. Because if I respect, I should just sort of follow without asking. But for me, it was a sign of respect. Because I wouldn't ask questions of someone who I didn't think had more experience or had some understanding that they could share. Kathleen, can we come to you? Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Yeah. This links in, I think, to something which I heard at the retreat, which really impressed me and has been very, very helpful for me, something that Ajahn Brahm said. He said, I think in response actually to a question I asked about judgments, that we just don't have all the data. The data isn't in. So we make judgments very quickly about other people.
Yes.
And so people that we think, oh, why should I revere that person? Or, why should I feel, kind of like in relation to that particular person any less than just fine, you're just great. And this business of just not having the information, I found that so powerful. It helps. I find it even just this week since the retreat, it's helped me in so many situations to just realize, okay, I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah,
it's great. It was great. So freeing. So wonderful.
That's so fantastic. And it's very deep, isn't it? Because what we're seeing is only like current causes and conditions working on a person, and we don't know the challenges they're facing and dealing with. So somebody might appear kind of stressed and agitated. You think, wow, that's not very professional. Like, I'm not stressed and agitated because, you've got a very stable family life. They don't, for example. Or, they've got money problems. Maybe we don't. Or we just cannot say. And we don't know how they'd be if their conditioning was just like ours. How would they be? Probably just like ours. So it can work in both ways, can't it? That is a sense of humility, realizing you can never actually know. And Ajahn Brahm said that to me before when I said, can you try and put yourself in my shoes as a bhikkhuni? And he said, well, I can feel compassion, but I can't know how it is. And I remember when he first said that, I was a bit sad because I thought, oh, that means I'm really alone. But then I realized it's just true. We never really understand another person's world. We just can sort of meet and receive them and in a way believe them, right? Believe that their experience is true to them. So validate them and but not assume we know. So that leaves a lot more space, doesn't it, as well? Because if you realize you don't actually know a person, especially say if you're living with someone married to them maybe for 50 years or however many years, and you think, I know this person, they're going to be like this, their habits are like that, they'll come into the kitchen again and tell me to leave the kitchen or whatever it is, and you're not leaving any space for them to show up in a different way. So that's really a beautiful teaching. So someone said, I really like Ajahn Brahm's story about the duck and the chicken, that harmony is sometimes much more important than being right. We had our little story like that yesterday because something fell out of the cupboard and it was on the surface. And I said, oh my goodness, it's a maggot. And I love beings, okay? I really genuinely feel compassion and love for nearly every being. But maggots are probably my number one least loved, followed by cockroaches and ticks. I shouldn't really have an order of the least loved being, but at least I know where I need to practice. So I said, it's a maggot, and I actually went out. I had to get it off the surface. And then Samaneri Upachala said, no, it's a caterpillar. No, it's a maggot. No, it's a caterpillar. I was like, this is the chucking or the duck. No, it's a maggot. And as soon as I thought, okay, maybe it's a caterpillar, it was a bit less freaky. And actually, she was right. It was a caterpillar, just a very pale caterpillar that would sort of made a home on a unopened bag of, I don't know, something. So I mean, what's the difference really between a caterpillar and a maggot? A caterpillar becomes a butterfly, a maggot becomes a fly. I mean, so what? It's just a different colour. But yes, it was interesting to see how the change of perception also increase or decrease the sense of repulsion from that poor little thing. Anyway, bowing to the wisdom of the Blessed One, but only when you begin to understand his wisdom. Well, the more we understand the wisdom of the Buddha, the more deep the bow, the more genuine the bow. That's why they say that for a stream winner, the faith is unshakable, because they actually know what the Buddha experienced. Someone asked this question too in the retreat about, they have faith in the teachings, they have faith in their practice. Where are they missing the confidence that comes with stream winning? Like, what is the difference between that kind of lack of doubt and the confidence of something like stream winning? That was how I understood it. And I said, well, the confidence is a knowing. It's not a belief anymore. It's not just a lack of doubt. It's actually confidence based on genuine personal experience of these teachings. And so at that point, the wisdom is just, and the faith, they're both kind of fulfilled. I mean, the wisdom isn't complete yet. It's complete into the Four Noble Truths, but it hasn't done the job of completely removing greed, hate, and delusion yet. But the view is perfected and the faith is unshakable. So these two grow together. That's very important. Through seeing his wisdom by practicing, quite right. Then real respect arises in one's heart, absolutely. The more we practice, the more that respect, that reverence, that awe arises. Because for me anyway, the deeper I practice, the more I realise I'm right at the beginning. It's strange, isn't it? But you realise, oh gosh, what I thought was, deep practice is that it was just scratching the surface. There was more peace, there was more contentment. And gosh, if there's this much so far, imagine how much there might be. The depths are kind of unfathomable, which is why I think we're not being kind of funny and snotty about jhanas and all the rest, but a lot of what people take to be jhana is still only the beginning. It's just the arising of piti sukha. There's more, so don't stop. Don't stop there. It's really incredible. I mean, a Buddha would have been meditating for lifetimes, and in this life, full time. I mean, he had most incredible qualities. Monastics, although they're not the Buddha, they give their whole life to the practice with incredible renunciation and many, many years. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours of practice. These things are deep. These things are really deep. We had the issue of perception too. Yeah. Perception. When we stop thinking we need to have the correct perception, or we have to be right, in other words, then we can actually enjoy perception. We can enjoy trying out different perceptions. It's like trying on different glasses and seeing what the world looks like through them. It doesn't have to be the right way of seeing, but is it a way of seeing that actually undermines the hindrances? And if it is, go for it. That's why I said at the beginning about the devas. You might not know that they're really devas. It might sound preposterous and even, unattractive to think that way. But if that's a perception that brings a sense of, wow, maybe there's something beyond what my senses can currently perceive, then go for it, As long as it's within some kind of framework, of the Buddha's teachings. Like, obviously we don't want to increase delusion, but maybe a maybe is appropriate. Thank you very much for the encouragement. You're very welcome. Coming from a Western and materialistic background, could you please speak about practices we can use to cultivate more reverence? Is it useful to bow and let it become more filled with reverence over time? Well, you have to experiment. You have to experiment. If that feels really uncomfortable, if that doesn't make sense to you, then, give yourself some time. But if you're asking that question, it seems to me that you're interested and that you want to explore. So go for it, explore. There's no right or wrong. See how it feels. I know that Ajahn Brahm still bows every time he comes in and out of a room because he's been trained like that. I know that for me, if I just pause to bow, it calms my mind. It allows me to have a few moments to collect myself and to remember that the food that's offered, for example, is offered through the generosity of others. If I just go straight into the kitchen, which is tempting sometimes when there's no guests staying here and we're a little bit late, then something is slightly missing. There's not that moment to just acknowledge that this comes by the virtue of being a practitioner, being a disciple of the Buddha. And the food that's offered is holy food in that sense. So try. And yeah, it may unlock that reverence that's there. Like I say, there are other ways in. Maybe nature is something you can revere. You know, maybe the qualities even in a child, the playfulness, the curiosity, the innocence. There are so many things we can revere, find awe, find wonder in. It'd be interesting to hear from other people as to how they cultivate these things. I was actually thinking, I don't know if people are up for this, to put you in little breakout groups and get you to explore together maybe examples of a time you were content or grateful or felt a sense of reverence, and look at the causes that gave rise to that. Would that be something interesting to do? And if you don't wish to join those little groups, you're welcome to stay back in the main group. You'll get an invitation. You'll be welcome to stay back in the main group. And you can continue to speak with me. I'll be in that group, the main group, or whoever else is there. Or just have a moment of quiet. I think it might be nice because this is a community, and it's sometimes very enriching to speak with one another rather than it be more like a Q&A. And yeah, welcome back after the breakout rooms, and I really hope that was a rewarding experience for those who joined. And I would love, for the last 10 minutes, a bit less, to hear any reflections, if anybody would like to share what was discussed, or especially any insights into the causes for the arising of these qualities. We can share ours too. I mean, one thing that came up for us was language, being able to have a language to talk about these qualities in, and that the fact when you are able to name something, your mind is more likely to actually start to pick up and experience that quality. So anything from anyone else? You please do raise your hands. It's much nicer to hear your voices than to hear my voice reading your voice. We realise we don't have enough time to discuss with spiritual friends in our normal life. Yeah, that's what it says in here, isn't it? That discussing the Dhamma is one of the highest blessings. Timely hearing of the Dhamma, but timely discussion of the Dhamma. Brilliant. Yeah. Great. So you had some timely discussion of the Dhamma. That itself was hopefully a blessing. Even though you didn't have control on the time because we kicked you out. No, we didn't kick you out. We just brought you in again to the group. Would anyone like to raise their hand and speak? Yay, Kimberlyn. Thank you for...
Yeah, something came up toward the end of our discussion, which is it's hard to disentangle all of these words in a way. And so we were talking about just having reverence for life itself, and how fortunate we all are to be human beings.
Yeah, right. The very basic fact that we overlook. I read somewhere recently that, I forget which spiritual teacher it was, they said something like, something very similar about if you are alive, you've basically got an incredible blessing. The very fact of being alive for another moment or week or however long it might be. Beautiful. Did Sunita have her hand up? Did you want to speak? Can you find the unmute button? Oh, I think Matthias might have to do it.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you
great.
for unmuting. Thank you for holding this space. It's really beautiful. So we had a really lovely discussion about awe and reverence in nature, and just the beauty within nature and trees particularly, and how being on a retreat can just allow us to get into that sort of calm space where we can actually observe the beauty around us, really, things that we would ordinarily just miss on a day-to-day basis. And just how, the simplest things can be our teachers, like our pets and grandchildren. So yeah, it was a really nice bit of space. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. That sounds really beautiful. Actually, the simple things are so easily accessible too. So one of my simple things that I'm starting to get a bit nerdy about is plants. And not only plants, because first you start watering them and caring for them, and after a while it's like, oh, this one's getting a bit long, maybe I could make a baby. And so now I'm starting to propagate them as well, a little bit. Yeah, and it brings me a lot of joy. It's also very calming if something's happening that, is causing some anxiety, then just to potter around and tend to the plants, really, I find that very stabilising, very grounding. Hello to Helen, who's just joined. We're in the last 5 minutes now, but yeah, okay, I'm coming to Suakshi. Maybe the last sharing. Hi.
Hi, Chandra. We were talking in our group about slowing down. And actually, like, our lives are so fast-paced. It's like rush, rush, rush. And it's probably a product of this capitalist society that we live in, because everything is about time is money. And we were just thinking, when we have that opportunity to slow down, we can start to notice and see the awe in like the really small things.
Yeah.
And it's just thinking about how do we bring that into our everyday lives. And it's so easy on retreats because we just naturally slow down.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to find those moments just to find the stillness in every day, and just kind of like just often just do that. That's just even small things, like closing the noisy doors on retreat.
Yes.
It's quite awesome to be able to get it so quiet, so it didn't bang,
Yeah.
Just those little things.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you very much. Someone else said it felt really good to discuss with spiritual friends. Thank you for your beautiful company and sharing your reflections. Yeah, thank you all for coming back in to share. Really valuable comments, and actually looking at these causes that give rise to the qualities and the things that can be obstructions is so important, because this is a kind of sequential teaching. And this is the part, again, about starting to cultivate those inner virtues that then give rise to the rest of the blessings. They get higher and more exalted as we go. So when we are able to develop the reverence and the humility, then they give rise to more contentment, more gratitude. We also hear the Dhamma, discuss the Dhamma, develop patience, be amenable to advice. And what is the result of that? So then these are the qualities that lead towards realization. So here it says tapas, or austerity, which really to me means gentle persistence in the practice. It doesn't mean anything outside the Eightfold Path or the middle path. It doesn't mean going to the extremes, but it does mean a kind of energy that really starts to burn, I would say, the defilements. Tapas means fire, so it's the energy that burns the defilements. And then celibacy. This happens naturally when we start to find that sense of deep contentment inside. We get more freedom from, things like lust and in relationships that are, that can kind of create too much attachment. And I'm not saying here that everybody has to have celibacy, but this is for those who are really kind of getting close to nibbana, right? Close to overcoming all greed and lust. And then seeing the noble truths and the realization of nibbana. And then lastly, the last verse talks about embodying the world transcending Dhamma. And that is the mind that's unshaken by the changing worldly conditions or the worldly winds, chittam yasana kampati, a mind that is sorrowless, asokam, that is passionless or stainless, virajam, and a mind that is secure, kemam. And the mind that is secure is basically a synonym for one who has realized nibbana. The mind now has security, freedom, and safety from greed, hate, and delusion. So if we can continue to cultivate these beautiful qualities, we're really setting the foundations for the higher ends of the path. So don't doubt that this is reachable, this is realistic, this is within everyone's reach. And we do have that potential. It's simply a matter of cultivating the causes. And we will in time awaken to these Four Noble Truths. So thank you very much for your participation in this beautiful teaching, and your contributions, as always, really beautiful to share. And I think, Manori, do you want to say a few quick words about generosity, and then I shall also update you on the next event. So we'll do it as quick as we can because we are out of time.
And thank you again, Venerable, for the Dhamma talk. And yes, I want to tell a few words about the generosity as Venerable requested. When generosity or dana, it helps us to develop our wholesome qualities. And so it can practice and checking it in deeply with us. Here at Anukampa, there's several ways for us to develop this generosity, the dana, and the quality. One is the main thing that is a financial donation. You can go to the website and do a financial donation via our website. You can do a bank transfer, PayPal, or SumUp. Or you can do a regular donation by standing orders if you're financially capable. Any amount is okay and it is good. So that is the way we practice, and that is the quality of the practice. And also you can offer your time. You can check whether you can volunteer with Anukampa. Again, email team@anukampaproject.org and discuss. And about the meals for the monastics, providing meals for the monastics, it can be a hot meal either in person or via online deliveries. There are places where you can order food, and also you can do a cooked meal delivery. Or you can do groceries or other household items. And then there is a tab in our website for the needed items, so have a look at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was just waving at Diana's beautiful cat who I've met. Clyde, that's right, Clyde. Oh, you have a very special cat and a very special dog called Timmy Hendrix. But it's nice to see Clyde again, really nice. Yeah, he's quite a cool cat. So, yeah, what else? So we also have a metta meditation tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to get your weekend off to the best possible start. So ending the week with suttas, starting your weekend with metta. And what else? Next week, I guess we're back with the chanting and again the sutta. Is that right? So yeah, and there's also like a online retreat on the 21st of December, Empathy and Resilience, if you want to join for that. It's in the UK time zone, but anyway, it'll be recorded, I'm sure. That's registerable with Gaia House. Yes, it's on our events page, and there's a link to the registration page there. There will also be a New Year retreat in Sheffield on the 2nd and 3rd of January. That will also be optional to join by Zoom. So I hope some people come in person, but others can join remotely if you wish. So yeah, that's pretty much all for now, I think. And very, very wonderful weekend to you all. Thank you for being here. Take care, and you may unmute yourself if you wish and say goodbye. Bye, everyone. It's nice to see your smiles.